We are live, and welcome to the January meeting of the Central Indiana Woodworkers. My name is Mick, and I have the privilege, responsibility of being president of this robust club. We're going to begin by looking at the agenda, and we'll go to introducing a guest that we have with us this evening. Following a few words of appreciation from me after we introduce our guest, Jim Crenna will tell all of us how to register for tonight's door prizes that come from Rockler. Depending upon whether we get our live audio from our presenter, we will either go to the presenter or we will skip and go through the activity of our various offices, charitable activities, education, finance, marketing technology, turning. We'll then go to a couple of items for show and tell. Jim Crenna will lead us through about a 30-second, he's not listening, so I can't make fun of him, about a 10-minute or less skill building thing on sharpening our drill bits. We'll do door prizes and we'll have a time of closing. Bob, would you introduce our guest to us this evening, please?
Certainly. That's you.
Hi, my name's Dan Cairo. I don't know what you need to know. I've been woodworking for a little over 20 years. And
Yeah, just give us a little information about how long you've been in woodworking, what your favorite things to do are, and where about you live in the greater Indianapolis area.
okay, been woodworking for a little over 20 years. Been doing cabinetry and furniture and mostly stuff for home or for friends, not really doing for any kind of business interest. And just recently got into turning, and it's completely new to me, and I'd like to learn a little bit more than what I'm seeing on YouTube and talk to some folks that know about it. So hopefully this will be a good resource for me and meet some new people and network from there.
Thank you. I think you will enjoy many members of this robust club. I come back to you after a 7-month leave of absence as I fought COVID and now continue my recovery. I want to thank those of you who prayed for me and continue to pray for me. I especially want to thank Jim Crenna, who sent many texts to me while I was in intensive care, expressing genuine concern and support from the members of this club. And on top of all that, to Bob Decker for the second year in a row taking charge of the club. And I would tell you that Bob likes doing this so little that he had the bylaws changed so that if that happens again during his tenure, the president-elect or the immediate past president will assume that. So we applaud you both for your leadership and for your wisdom. Having that, we will now turn to Jim Crenna, who will share with us about how to sign up for the door prizes. Jim?
Thank you, Mick. Okay, so we've tried various different mechanisms, and we think we've found one that actually works pretty well. So as you log into the website to watch the video, if you will sign up, if you look at the screen now, you'll see got my name up there and it says sign me up. So if you will provide your first and last name, then one of our swift helpers over here will write your name on the back of a ticket, and then those that are in the room will receive a physical ticket. And then when it comes to door prize time, we will draw from the little barrel. If we have called your name and you are viewing remotely, we would like you to call within about 2 minutes and claim your prize. Please call in and claim your prize and tell us where you want us to send your prize, because we're going to send the prizes with folks that are here tonight, and your choices, and we'll try to get these on the screen, are Brownsburg, Lawrence, Noblesville, Fishers, South Indy, Bargersville, and Westfield. And we will send your prize with one of our crew here today, and then you can call them and pick up your prize tomorrow, weekend, whatever. So start signing up right now, and please remember to call in. Oh, we're going to have the numbers on the screen for you to call in, and we'll have those up there when we draw the door prizes. We'll have 2 different numbers. And okay, so all right, so we do have about a 40-second lag between what happens here and the video that you actually see on the screen. And we are getting ready for our presentation, so we're going to patch in the video from the gentleman from Noah, who is out in California. And so I'm kind of killing 40 seconds until we can get him, till we see his video come live on our control panel back here, and then we'll patch him in. And Dick Sumi will be the first to speak. So it's kind of interesting. So Dick is at home here in central Indiana, and his presentation, his introduction will be patched into the California YouTube presentation, which is being
CIWW
patched
members,
into our video. So,
welcome to the
Dick Sumi
presentation on
is,
Shaper
well, here he
Origin
is.
that you've been
So
promised.
I'm done.
Tonight, we're going to learn a great deal more about Shaper Origin. My name is Dick Sumi. I was one of the early adopters. We have several things to give to you tonight. One of the most significant is a guest speaker who's a genuine expert. Started with the company Shaper Tools 3 years before they delivered product, so he's been on the project from the very beginning. And this product, the Shaper Origin, was identified by Raleigh Johnson, who most of you know, as the most significant tool developed during his 44-year professional woodworking career. And that's why we think it's so important that you learn about it. Raleigh, I think you know, has made some presentations at our club meetings, and hopefully he's watching tonight. I'm not sure if he is, but he usually does. I first saw Origin in the mid-2017 timeframe at the Festool Connect show in Lebanon. And immediately after I saw it, I called Mark Adams and suggested he schedule a class for it, only to find out my call was too late because the prior day he had done so. And that's how much interest the machine has developed. So I ordered my machine right away in the fall of 2017, actually early fall 2017. It was delivered late fall 2017. And in 2018, in the fall, I took a class at Mark Adams School of Woodworking. And the person who taught the class is our guest speaker tonight. Could you bring up the first picture, guys? That's a box joint box that we made in that class. And the resolution isn't good enough to see the fit of these pins together, but just take it from me that they are so incredibly tight, and there was really no additional handwork done on it of any significance after the cutting was done. We allowed a glue gap of 0.03 on the first cut, and we had to hammer the pieces together, and no glue would have stayed between the joints. We increased the gap to 0.05, and the thing fell together. And that's just one example of the kind of precision that is available from this machine. Noah Berkowitz-Mitchell is the name of our presenter tonight. You've probably heard that. He's going to tell the development of and the support of the Origin from the Shaper Tools Company. And I would like to recommend that you listen to some buzzwords or terms. One of those is Shaper Sessions, YouTube, internet programs. Another is Shaper Hub, and the third is Shaper Assist. All of those things will be very significant to you if you decide to acquire and use a Shaper Origin. But could we have the next picture, guys? This is a cutting board, and my son-in-law made it actually and gave it to a professional associate of his. And she happened to be a nurse and was retiring from the coroner's position in his county. And we wanted to inlay an EKG tracing. And so those squiggly lines are effectively one solid piece of walnut that was cut with the Shaper Origin, and then the pocket or groove was cut with the Shaper Origin as well, and they fit together with a little bit of cajoling. But with that kind of variation in geometry, you would expect at least that. Let's go on to the next picture. Thank you. This is a food preparation cart that I had made for my grandson. And I won't labor you with the structure of it, but just be aware that that big plastic wastebasket has to be accommodated by the area behind the door that you see. And above the wastebasket is a scuttle hole on this butcher block top where the cook can scrape the cutoffs, the food cutoffs. We ran into a design problem on this in that my grandson wanted this wastebasket, plastic wastebasket, to be this particular one, this particular size. And so I was left with a 3/4 inch for a face frame. So we cut this 3/4 inch face frame out of straight grain white oak and managed to do several operations on it with the Shaper Origin. Can we go to the next slide? Let me back up just a minute. I got a little out of sequence here. This is the scuttle hole. Go ahead with the slide you had up. This is the scuttle hole. We cut that originally with Shaper Origin thanks to Bill Height. I was a little tentative cutting on this originally because I had invested so much time in making the butcher block top, and this was the first one I'd ever done. So Bill assisted me, and we got a hole cut that you see on this picture. And then it occurred to me that that sharp edge wasn't going to work well, and by that time I had left Bill's site. And so I took the same cut file that we used to cut the hole, made some minor adjustments, put a pilot hole roundover bit in the Shaper Origin and cut the roundover, and did that without any significant adjustment. And that really impressed me. I think that is really a significant matter. Let's go on to the next slide, guys. These are pieces of the 3/4 inch face frame, and you can see that I put large dowels because I was concerned about the strength of the joints, both in the ends of these 3/4 inch face frames and in the face. And all of those dowel holes were cut with the Shaper Origin. Now, not only did we cut the dowel holes, but we were able to fiddle with the size of the hole in the cut file in Shaper Origin such that we could get a really good fit. Because obviously this particular thing could have split out very easily. So I wanted a large dowel for strength, and we filled it up with glue and managed to make a 3/4 inch square face frame. Next picture. This is the lower hinge, and it is a sauce hinge. I expect many of you are familiar with it, but it buries itself completely in that 3/4 inch face frame and also in the 3/4 inch border around the door. And it just barely fits. It happens to be a sauce 2. The beauty of the sauce hinge is that it's very precise, so the door opens and fits very well and stays in place, and it's also pretty darn strong. What happened in this case, I started out with a sauce 1, and the cut files for the sauce hinge were or are on something called the Shaper Hub. You'll learn more about that later. And when I found out the sauce 1 wasn't going to work out very well, I got the sauce 2 files off Shaper Hub and buried this hinge in these 3/4 inch square members. And I thought it was just incredible how well it worked. Next picture, please. This is one of the kind of, I guess, unsung capabilities of the Shaper Origin, that of engraving. These 2 little plaques were made on the Shaper Origin. Connor Smith is my grandson, and Tori Mallory designed this piece. And so we gave them both credit, and I got a little credit too, as you can see. Next picture. When you use a Shaper Origin for a while, you just find all kinds of interesting, helpful little things that you can do with it. This is kind of a silly little thing, but enormously useful in my shop. I've taken a piece of cabinet grade plywood, just scraps, and cut 2 holes in it, 2 large diameter holes of different sizes, so that this plastic cup, which I have several of, will just fit into the little base, and it's just a stabilizer. And so you can do things like put these pry bars in there, which would normally upset the cup, but everything's in sight. And when you get to my age, that's very helpful. What I love most about the Shaper Origin is the precision, and it has commands to cut inside the so-called cut line. You can cut outside the so-called cut line. That will allow you, when you cut inside, to make a pocket, and when you cut outside, to make the inlay piece. So inlay is one of the great capabilities of the machine. And then it has a little offset command that will allow you to just fiddle with the fit, so to speak. So you can offset it 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 thousandths, however much you need, in order to get a really excellent fit. The other thing I love about the Shaper Origin is its versatility. It'll do many things, which I don't have time to address here, but in addition to cutting wood, it will also cut a number of other materials. And you're going to see a very good example of all of this in the show and tell segment. Yale has a PowerPoint presentation where he is going to describe something that he worked on, and I assisted him a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, our speaker tonight is Noah Berkowitz-Mitchell, a friend and a true expert in the Shaper Origin. Noah, would you take over?
Hey, everybody. Thank you very much, Dick. That was all I could have asked for and more with an introduction. You're certainly too kind. Anyway, thank you very much, CIWW members, for having us today. As Dick mentioned, my name is Noah. I'm joining you from San Francisco, California, in our session studio. As Dick mentioned to you, Shaper Sessions is a weekly live stream that we produce, and actually, guys, are the first time our newly equipped studio is out for a test run. So I hope it goes well, and I do hope you bear with us if there are any technical snags. Seems like it's going pretty good so far. Anyhow, let me dive right in. So Shaper Origin, if you're not familiar with it, is a handheld router that robotically assists you. It corrects for error, for human error. And I'll explain that a little bit, but I just wanted to give you kind of a fun little introduction. Dick said that you guys might enjoy this. The beginnings of Origin, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but it came from a couple really bright guys at MIT, Alec Rivers and Alon Moyer. And Alec was the guy that had the original idea, and he had that idea because he was a software engineer. You know, he's a computer geek, and he he inherited his grandfather's woodworking tools and tried to make a picture frame, and it turns out woodworking is difficult, and it's a skill that you have to develop. And he rejected that and decided that he was going to go ahead and use his skill with computers to try and have a go at being a woodworker. And here we are today. That was, I believe, back 2013 time frame. So we've been developing it ever since. And that's sort of the super quick history of things. Eric, let's go ahead and jump into the slide deck so that everyone can get a look at what Origin is. So we call Origin precision freehand routing, and it's really, it's similar output to a CNC machine, but it's really different how we get there. So this is what the machine looks like if you're not familiar, and you can see it's sort of a strange little hybrid plunge router. And basically what's going on here is the router itself can move independently from the rest of the machine. And Eric's got a little video that he can show you to kind of demonstrate what that looks like. So location tracking, the machine knows where it is at all times. That's important. You can see there's a screen on board. And then active motion control. You can see the router that's actually doing the cutting moves independently from you. And the combination of the two is what you see there, is precision freehand cutting. We'll watch that one more time because it kind of goes by quickly. So machine knows where it is and can track that very accurately in real time. And it can react to changes in position based on what you do. And together, that means freehand cutting that's very precise. And we're talking 5/1000ths of an inch precise. So you can go ahead and go on to the next slide there, Eric. So one thing that's really fun that I get to talk about now, which is a new product for us as of last year, it was released, and I think they are now readily available and can be purchased. They were pre-order for a long time and very hotly anticipated. This is our newest product. It's called Workstation, and it's a companion product to Origin. It sort of enables all the awesome functionality that Origin has and makes it really quick and easy to set up. And then it also kind of takes what Origin can do, takes Origin's capabilities to kind of a whole nother level. In effect, it's a fixturing platform, but it really does a lot. And so we'll go over briefly what you can accomplish with Origin and Workstation. So you can go ahead and go on to the next slide. You can see that's what they look like together. That photo's working on some tenons on the top of a stool leg. Go ahead and go on to the next slide. So hopefully we can jog back on into the studio here for a quick demo. And apologies if we're going fast here, but I want to get through as much as we possibly can. So I'm going to go ahead and have Eric switch us on to the screen on Origin so you guys can see what's going on in real life. So basically what we got here is a digital representation of what's underneath the router on the screen. And so the kind of first thing that you'll note when using Origin is that you don't look where the router bit is meeting the wood. You watch the screen, and the machine's kind of does the rest, and it really does, after a few outings, instill a lot of confidence in knowing exactly where you're cutting. In fact, it's a lot easier to see what you're doing on the screen than it is in the chaos of a router running through wood. So the basic idea here is, like I said, motion tracking, so the machine knows where it is in space, okay? And because it knows where it is in space, it's able to then compensate for any inaccuracies that I have while I'm cutting. So, for instance, and we'll get into quickly about design, the information about design in a little bit, but I'm just going to jump through this here quickly, create a quick circle, and place that down. And I just want to show you guys what exactly is going on here. So what I've told the machine is that I want to cut down 1/8 of an inch, and then I want to cut a 3-inch circle on the interior. And what I want you to pay attention to is the top of this router here in the image, as well as on screen. You can see this white circle that goes around. That white circle is the corrective range of the machine. What that means is that's the range that the bit can travel inside of to compensate for my error, okay? So as I start cutting, and actually what I'll do here is just an air cut, so we're not running the spindle, so you can hear me talk. So as I start cutting, you can see it's going to jog over and find that line. But if you watch the spindle itself, it's staying stationary on the line as I move the router around it. So the net effect is that the exact path that you want to cut is what gets cut. And you don't have to be that accurate. In fact, it's about 1/4 inch in any direction that you can be inaccurate, as long as you're giving it kind of a good smooth input. No jerky motions, but a nice smooth input like you would with a plunge router. It's going to give you just crispy, clean, very, very tight joinery. We'll talk about kind of the other applications. But I think for me personally, what excites me most is joinery and the potential in joinery projects with this setup of this combination of Origin and Workstation. So let's dive back into the slides quickly, and we're just going to go over some of the applications that Origin and Workstation can be brought to bear upon. Okay, so foremost, we're woodworkers, and so furniture is kind of at the top of the list of things that generally interest us and should interest you. Furniture building, there are a myriad, as Dick mentioned, of applications and capabilities of Origin that are relevant to furniture making. The ones that I find specifically really interesting, and I want to talk a little bit about, are box joints and mortise and tenon work. And then we'll look at cabinet building, and a part of cabinet building I generally, I feel generally that hardware installation is a part of cabinet and case work, but obviously hardware can go into any furniture project, go in anywhere really. And so we'll talk a little bit about hardware installation. You saw on Dick's project, that sauce hinge. That's a really good example. Sauce hinges are notoriously difficult to get positioned correctly, and there is no adjustment. So it's get it right the first time or die trying, I suppose. The other thing, obviously, if you're doing kind of more kitchen style casework, is the System 32. So you can bore cabinet hole patterns with ease. And then any other, features that you're trying to cut into the casework, whether you're trying to make recessed handles or handle features that are cut directly into the drawers, that's something that's quite easy to do, and with, a relative complexity in terms of what the handle looks like. So that's kind of a fun alternative to just screwing a handle onto a cabinet or drawer pull. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So these are just a few examples of projects that we've put together in the past. And I've got 2 of those 3 examples here with me in the studio that we'll look at in person as well. We can go ahead and go on to the next slide. So cabinets and hardware. Interesting. I wonder if maybe I'm missing the bit that I wanted to talk about mortise and tenon. No matter. We'll talk about it anyway. Yeah, this is a little bit out of order here. No matter. So Eric, let's go ahead and cut back to me in the studio. I want to talk about mortise and tenon first and foremost. And this is a fun example. I actually can't get this joint apart. The slide that I wanted to show you is a section of this joint, but I think I can kind of get, there we go. Thank you, Eric. So you can see there is actually a little bit of complexity to this tenon. It's actually got 2 different profiles to create 2 sort of a stepped shoulder on the tenon. And the reason for that is I wanted to see a circular through tenon on the outside of the stool leg. You can kind of see that here. But I wanted the orientation of the leg to be exactly square, so that when I went to assemble, I didn't have to do any guesswork. I didn't have to fiddle with the rotation while I was doing my glue up. And so I made a square shoulder so that it all fit together. And this is something I actually can do completely without a computer. It's really something that I'd like to talk about here next is how we get files onto Origin. If you hear the word CNC, normally what comes to mind is a lot of knowledge in computers, really complicated software that really nobody wants to take the time to learn. And at Shaper, we generally reject that notion, and we think that it's really important that this kind of digital precision be available to everybody. And so first and foremost, our tools are easy to use and very accessible for everybody. And that's really important to us. It's not just a sales pitch. It really is critical to our mission as a company that we make these tools more accessible to everybody. Because, at the core of it, it's something that we want to use as well. And so we like to use nice tools. And so we want to make tools that we would like to use and that don't frustrate us. And so if we want to jump back to the screen, Eric, you guys saw me create the Origin screen. You guys saw me create a quick circle here, and that was completely done on tool. So we call that on tool design. And that's really important to keep in mind here as we talk through some of these applications. We're not leaving you out in the cold for design tools. If you want to go more bespoke and build your own design files, you absolutely can do that. But there's also a lot of really powerful options if that's not your cup of tea. So I just wanted to cover that quickly so that I didn't lose anyone right out the gate here, because I do know that and I totally understand that CNC is something that is a bit of a wall for some people. So just know that we've got your back, and we don't like it either, and we're trying to make it better. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive back into the slideshow. Sorry to jump around a little bit, but I think that's an important point to cover. So you can see there's some dimensions on here for this mortise and tenon. There's different tenon profiles to accomplish different things. And normally one wouldn't really approach mortise and tenon joinery this way. You'd kind of figure out how to get one tenon profile together, and you just recycle that. And there's really no need to do that this way. You can make each joint bespoke, and I think that's really quite a powerful thing for your ability to design furniture, because not every joint can be the same profile or should be the same profile. And so making it easy to move between different profiles is quite a powerful thing. And so you can see here, I'll go ahead and attach this if you want to come back to the studio, Eric. You can see, or in fact we could go from above, it might be better lit. This guy right here, you can see this is the tenon profile. And it's quite a nicely machined little thing. And then this is the matching mortise. You can see that's also machined in the side there. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next application. I hope your questions are coming in here, and I hope that I'll have time to get to everyone's questions at the end, so I'm just going to keep on trucking here. Let's go ahead to the slides again, Eric, and we'll talk through a few more items. Okay, well, we can look at hinge installation. So this slide for hinge installation, you can go ahead and go on to the next. This is a cabinet that we built for, I believe, one AWFS show ago. Just kind of a neat demonstration of what we think Origin is good at in cabinet making. So there's drawer work. You can see there's some handle cutouts on the panels, but what we're really talking about here is hinge installation. So let's move on to the next step here. You can see, this is the profile for the door. And one thing that I want to stress with hardware installation is that Origin is a part of the workshop. It is not the end-all, be-all, last tool you're ever going to buy. It is extremely good at doing detail work. It's extremely good at doing nonlinear profiles. It's extremely good at installing hardware, making joinery, but it can't square stock, and long straight cuts are better left for a table saw or a track saw. But Origin actually has a very unique kind of party piece. It can align to stock in the real world using what we call grid. So I want to show grid off just very briefly here. I'm sure there'll be questions about it because it's a little bit of a tough concept to grasp on the first outing. But essentially, I'm going to tell it I want to make a grid, make a new grid. I'm telling it that the tool diameter I have currently in the machine is 1/4 of an inch. And actually what I'm going to do is drive the bit below the surface of the machine and set that depth. And now I'm literally touching the bit up against the edge of my stock. Okay, and I'm going to do that in 3 points. So point 1 and 2, you can see draw a line. You can see that line. Okay, so 2 points make a line, and that's giving me a parallel reference to my front edge. And the third point gives me 0, and that gives me X and Y. So this third point is Y. And when you set that, you can see now I have this grid applied to my work. And when I go to create, and actually what we'll do is create a rectangle quickly here. We'll make it a 2x2. And you can see, no matter the rotation of the machine, the rectangle is actually going to go ahead and stay oriented to that front edge. It's going to stay parallel with that front edge. If I disable the grid temporarily, you can see it rotates freely with the machine. So this is really powerful because it means, certainly in the case, I believe, when Dick was talking about that scuttle hole in his butcher block top, the way he was able to realign things so that he could cut the roundover that he wanted to do was using grid, because he placed that hole at a very known position on the butcher block, and he was able to set a new grid up. And that's just how accurate this grid system is you can align two circular tool paths, two circular shapes, and they'll be dead-on concentric, which is a pretty amazing thing. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next set of slides here, Eric. Let's see, do we have anything on box joint? If we don't, I'll wing it. Okay, it's coming. Like I said, new studio here, so there we go. All right, box joints. Okay, let's go ahead and go in. So behind me here in the studio is actually, like I said, we have this little chest of drawers. You want to switch back to the top view for me, Eric, real quick. You can see we have this lovely chest of drawers. This is one of the drawers from them. And this is done actually completely just with a table saw and an Origin. So we cut the sides and back and front of the drawer and the bottom on the table saw. And then we cut the handle profile, as well as the joinery, as well as the rabbet for the drawer bottom with Origin. And so we can jump back into the slides and we'll walk through that quickly. Yeah. So you can see those are the rough dimensions of things. And Origin has a built-in box joint generator, and that's what I want to show you right now. And you can see it'll actually set up either an asymmetric or a symmetric box joint pattern, depending on whether your pin count is even or odd, as well as Dick mentioned, set up glue gap so that you can really easily adjust fit. And if you're setting up a 5-pin, or rather an asymmetric box joint, it'll allow you to switch between the two profiles very easily without changing alignment. So let's go ahead and cut to my screen. And what we're going to do here is take a quick look at what the box joint generator looks like. Okay, so we're going to go into Create. We're going to open Box Joint Basic. Okay, and over on the left-hand side here are all of my parameters. So what I'm going to do is tell it that I want to make these box joints in a 1/2 inch thick piece of material, that the width of the material is 10 inches, and that my pin count is 9 in total, and that my glue gap is 5 thousandths. So that glue gap again is our fitment allowance. So I click Done, and you can see now on screen I actually have a set of box joints. So I'm going to go ahead and move myself over to my workstation here. Unfortunately, the lighting isn't quite dialed in, and I've had you guys over on the other side because there's a little bit of glare on the screen. So we're going to try and mitigate that. But I am going to throw a little piece of material in the workstation. Maybe Eric can put me top down here so everyone can see what's going on. You can maybe zoom out a little bit, Eric. Okay, so I'm back, and I'm just going to go ahead and put this guy in. This is a large piece of material, but we will make it work. Okay, so and you guys are going to, if you watch on the screen now, you're going to be able to see something that's really quite neat. So Eric, yep. So as I move over to my workstation, you can see that it actually already recognizes the workstation because it's a workspace that I've used before. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And you can see there's actually already a box joint set up in here. So we're just going to go ahead and take a look at that. So what's really neat about this box joint setup is that I can cut my A pins, and then I can actually just hit this swap button, and that's going to set up to my B pins. And that's quite a powerful thing because it means that you can set up for, like we did with these drawers, you can set up for a consistent front and side width. And then all you got to do is take those parts, set them up in Workstation, and you can just really get through quite a few in short order. It's really fast to do production work. So box joints is something that's quite powerful. Box joint basic and generally box joints on Origin. And actually, we did a session at the end of last year about dovetails. So there's no generator on Origin for dovetails, but we did create a pretty neat Fusion 360 generator, and we'll talk about Fusion 360 here in a moment. But that's available on Shaper Hub. That's probably a good segue to jump into design here quickly, because I believe we're running out of time here. Yeah. So let's go ahead and go into design, and then if there's a chance for me to answer some questions, that would be awesome. I don't know if those questions are coming in at all, but let's talk through design quickly. So we talked about on-tool design. So we talked about box joints. We didn't talk about text, but it is a good example of text was what Dick showed on his kitchen island. So those engravings were generated directly with Origin's onboard text tools. So it's quite powerful to do labeling and engraving with text just straight on board the machine. You just type in what you want, and it'll spit it out. You can scale it to whatever size you'd like, and you're off to the races. Obviously, circles and rectangles we looked at, and there's also a pen tool, so you can draw either a free form or snapped to a grid with the pen tool. So, like I mentioned, very powerful onboard design tools intended to allow everybody to very quickly get the basics. And also some quite complex work can be done with on-tool design. Dick can attest to that. We did a whole segment on that in our Mark Adams class, and it is quite powerful if you get creative. Shaper Hub is our online repository of designs, and that's available to anyone who owns Shaper, and there's a large community of people who are on Shaper Hub contributing on a regular basis. I think we're up to somewhere around 900 projects, and all of those projects, short of a few, are free to use because they're all just shared alike with everybody on the community. And so you can just go onto Shaper Hub, pick a project that you like, and add it to your account, and it will just show up on your machine. Origin is Wi-Fi capable. You just connect it up to your shop Wi-Fi if you've got it, or download those files onto a thumb drive and connect up to Origin's USB port. There are some pretty interesting premium projects on Shaper Hub as well that we that are all priced a little bit differently and all of a different sort of scale. But those ones have a lot of really good instructions on them. They're a more developed instruction set, and that is a pretty cool way to get your feet wet with Origin. There's actually a couple of free ones as well, just so that you can get a really good step-by-step walkthrough that we spent a lot of time dialing in. Like I said, Shaper Hub free and paid projects, and all of the projects on Shaper Hub are interesting. Many of them are really incredible. People have taken a lot of time and effort to make them pretty amazing, and it's very cool that that's all shared with the community. Wanted to talk a little about Shaper Assist. So Shaper Assist is our design service. So we know that a lot of people want to do complex work with Origin and are very experienced woodworkers, but don't have the computer savvy necessary to produce those design files for Origin, and that's fine. You got good at woodworking, and if you don't want to touch a computer, more power to you. We celebrate that here. The more time away from computers, the better. The more time in the shop, the better. And so in the spirit of that, Shaper Assist really allows you to just send a sketch or a photo of something that you're interested in, some brief dimensions and information about what you're looking for, and we actually just create that file for you for a reasonable fee. And the turnaround time is fairly quick. Maybe not during the holidays. I know our buddy Eric here, who's running the switchboard, also works on Assist, and he was a busy guy. So it's definitely a popular service, and we hope that if you guys are going to take the plunge, that you try Assist out, because even for people who are savvy at design, don't always have the time. So it's great to be able to just offload that project and just have it ready for you when you need it. Okay, I believe that covers everything but third-party design tools. So Origin takes specifically an SVG file, and that is a vector graphics file. And many vector editors, both 2D and 3D CAD tools, will output to that format. So Illustrator, Inkscape, Affinity Designer are examples of 2D vector editors, and you can do scaled design in those. And then SketchUp and Fusion 360 are both 3D CAD tools, and actually for Fusion 360 and SketchUp, we have plugins to help get the exact right file out so that you get your profiles out. Fusion 360, that was a co-developed plugin that we support. SketchUp was actually a third party. I think it's a customer of ours that developed that. And so that one is, there's more information on our community about that one. But pretty much no matter what you like to design in, if that's something that you know how to do, you're going to be able to get the files out and either natively cut with Origin or get them easily converted. So I believe that that's probably time for me. let's see if I can check out our questions here. So I'm not seeing any questions coming in. Okay, sounds like we got a couple coming in, and so they're being sent over to me. Hello, is anyone there? It's very interesting just talking to the void. Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. So the question that came through is, what's the difference between the tape on the workstation and the tape that's applied to the plywood? So maybe let's look at a top view here, and that'll kind of give you guys a better idea. So the tape that's applied to this sheet of plywood is called Shaper tape, and then, forgive me for not mentioning the name of it, but this is what allows position tracking to happen with Origin, and it's something that's an important kind of set, a tool in your tool set, and it allows you to pretty much use Origin anywhere. This was the original way that we developed for Origin to work. And it has its strengths and its weaknesses. Probably one of the biggest weaknesses is it takes time to lay it out. You can get it applied to anything that you want, which is really powerful. But oftentimes we're working on smaller things in the workstation, and it really didn't really make sense to have to apply Shaper tape every time. And so when we made the early versions of Workstation, which were actually just a project on Shaper Hub, which was made of plywood, we applied Shaper tape to that surface, and then we put kind of a protective sheet over it so that the tape didn't get abraded over time. And we kind of thought to ourselves, well, wouldn't it be cool if we could just make that tape magically already applied to the workstation? And so that's what we did. So it's a very durable, if you want to cut back to the top surface here, it's a very durable surface that has the Shaper tape very accurately pre-printed and ready to go. So that means that you don't have to bother with taping things up. You just clamp your work in and get cutting. I hope that answers the question. Yeah, all right. We got some more coming in. Delightful. Okay. So conventional router bits. Yes, absolutely. So Origin ships with a 1/4-inch collet, and so any 1/4-inch shank router bit will work up to 1 inch in cutting diameter. I know that sounds like crazy, but they do exist, and they do go bigger than that sometimes. But you can see, let's see, this is just a standard bit that comes with Origin. This is the 1/4 inch by 3/4 inch length of cut, 2 flute, upcut, end mill, and like I said, 1/4 inch collet. And available to buy through our store, we've got also a 1/8 inch collet so that you can run smaller tooling. Things like Dremel's bits, as well as lots of small detailed inlay bits for lutherie work, cutting fret slots. So that's a really handy one to have around, that 1/8 inch. And then what I didn't mention actually, and this is a good as any place to mention, is that we are actually a sister company to Festool. We are part of the TTS group along with Festool, and Festool actually, even before we kind of became a part of the family there, they actually developed the spindle with us. So we were incredibly lucky to have that partnership early on. As I'm sure you all know Festool's reputation, especially in routers. They really make an incredible product, and so that's all to say. There actually are a few collet components in the Festool line that fit our product. So anything for the OF 1010 or the MFK 700 router will fit our machine. So any of the metric collets, be it 6 millimeter, and then actually all the way up to 8 millimeter is the largest tool diameter we support. So you got options. No shortage. All right, let's see. So I think we're getting right. Yeah, so we've got a couple more questions about design software. So as I mentioned, you can use any old design software that will output an SVG file. So to name a few, Illustrator, That's an Adobe product. Inkscape, which is a sort of free version of Illustrator. Affinity Designer, which is similar to Illustrator but a lot less expensive and a great product. Those are two-dimensional vector drawing tools. And then three-dimensional, Fusion 360 and SketchUp are kind of the big ones, but you know, if you're comfortable in something like SolidWorks or AutoCAD, you can definitely get DXFs to convert, but you'll probably need to go through something like Inkscape or Illustrator to convert those DXFs into the SVG format. Okay. Yes. So one thing that I did fail to mention here a little bit, and I generally get excited about Workstation and Origin. It's something I've been passionately excited about my whole time at the company is joinery and furniture projects. But one thing that is quite powerful about Origin is it can actually work on enormous workspaces. It's sort of not really bounded by an envelope, kind of like a traditional CNC machine. It sort of goes where the tape is. And so what that means is you can say cut like an 8-foot by 16-foot section. It's going to take a lot of tape, but you can do that, and customers have done that. In fact, they've done more larger sections than that. I believe they did them in multiple sections, but there's some massive table and floor inlays that customers have done. So it's really quite versatile in that you can bring the machine to the work, which means if it's already an assembled piece of furniture and you forgot a detail in it, you can cut that, or if it's too large to fit in a CNC, you can cut that. So that's quite a powerful thing to have in your pocket, and something that really sets Origin apart from a traditional CNC machine. Yes, pricing. Okay, so Origin by itself sells for $24.99, so $2,500. And then Workstation, and I'm hoping I'm not going to get this wrong, is I believe $400, and it's $350 if you buy them together. And I hope that I'm not wrong on that. It could very well be that I'm wrong. Bad me. But anyway, that's all to say that for the sort of a fraction of the price of a traditional CNC machine, you're getting a barrage of capabilities, and kind of beyond that. You know, I like to think of Origin as a real jack of all trades, but it really is a master of joinery and hardware installation. I mean, there's nothing out there that I've used that really can beat it. The one thing I did want to mention before I wrap up here, guys, today is that we actually do have a little promotion that we put together for you. It is a CIS1, and I have one in the studio around here somewhere. Yes, there it is. Okay, so the pricing is $450 for the Workstation by itself, and then $28.99 for the pair of them. So you're saving $50. So this is the CIS1, and this comes with foam that you can machine out to fit all your tools in. So and that's normally, I believe, $90. And then we're also going to throw in free shipping on that. So and I sent the details over to the club, so that should go out within the wrap-up email. The code is CIWW 2021, and that'll be good till midnight Pacific on Saturday. So save a little bit of money if you're interested in Origin. That is going to be a very good deal for you, and not going to come around anytime soon here. So dive in if you want to join the club. Now is a pretty good moment to do it. So I hope that you've learned something about this machine. Let me just double check that I don't have any more questions. Looking good. Okay. I think I'm going to wrap it up here because I'm already over time, and I apologize for that. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed the presentation. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out and get in contact. I'll leave my contact information with some folks at the club. And if you have any further questions, I'm sure that I missed things. I'm sure that I breezed over things. There's a lot to know about this machine, and it's been a big part of my life, and so I like to talk about it. And whether you want to just chat about a project you're working on, or you've got specific questions about the machine, please feel free to reach out. And thank you very much. Take care and have a good night.
Am I here? Do I see what's on there? Are we good? Okay. Hi, everybody. As you can tell, this is a first for me. I am Jackie Beck, and I am now the Charitable Activities VP. And I'm going to start this meeting, my part of it, out with special projects. We currently have a new project to the club that involves the Turners, but we're going to include flat work for all members to participate in. Oh, okay. Okay, can you hear me now? Anyway, so we have a project called Beads of Courage, and it was brought to us by Tom Meeker with the Turning Club, and it is a project set up with Peyton Manning Hospital, where, if you want to show the boxes, the round one is a segmented bowl, and it actually comes with a bead at the top. Anyway, there's a bead at the top that is inserted for Beads of Courage. And what this is children that are undergoing long-term stays at the hospital, they get a bead every time they go through a procedure, whether it is x-rays, IVs, surgery, and the box provides them a place to keep them safe, but also as a keepsake. So when they are doing better and going home, it's a keepsake box. And right now, Tom Meeker is heading that project. We encourage everyone in the club that likes to turn or wants to learn segmented turning to start with this project. But the other part is we have several organizations that ask for boxes that is what the, the flat box next to the round one is. And it is designed to where a bead can go on it for an organization, or just be a part of a specific agency's gift for the girls or the teenagers. One thing with the flat box, well, with all of them, our goal this year is to have over 500 of them made. With that being said, the flat box, Mike Delakamp has already started organizing a mass production in his warehouse, in his wood shop. And if you are interested, I would ask that you contact him, but also anyone in the club that wants to make them on their own, whether it's the segmented bowl or the flat box, to contact me so I have an idea of how many are being produced. Again, the more the merrier. Also, several of our workshops can probably help with some of the wood and supplying of that. Just need to reach out to us to let us know if you need it. Let's see. The next piece is I have a partner in crime, sorry, Mike Robarts. He does our Toy of the Month. One thing I wanted to mention is that right now, all of the places you were able to pick up kits last year, you will still be able to pick up kits if there is a kit for it. We are currently working on storage. We are hoping that we'll have an answer within the next few weeks as to a larger location. So that way, a few of our places have agreed to, when you pick up a kit, you can drop off your finished toys. But we're not there yet. So, all righty, we're ready for Mike. Come on up.
Okay, like Jackie said, I'm Mike Robards, and I'm trying to fill the big shoes of John Kneebone, because he did a great job fixing out the toys. Like Jackie said, there's not going to be a actual Toy of the Month kit needed this year, but this month, I'll get it right, is because this month is going to be a baby doll bed. Now, the plans are on the website. It's a fairly simple site. They're a simple set of plans. I've got a few templates. I didn't print out enough for everybody to have one because primarily it's a very simple design, but it's set up so you can do both the headboard and the footboard, and I'll try to get these distributed to the different sites for pickup if you need wood or stuff. What I did on mine, I'm sure everybody over Christmas did a lot of projects. Well, for my wood, I use a scrap from my projects I did over Christmas time. So I ended up, this is basically started out as a 2x6, and I cut out, and for each hunk I would cut out, I could get 3 boards. Makes a nice sturdy bed, run it through my planer or my sander, and it works out good. So Toy of the Month this month is the baby doll bed. Next month, those of you been in the club for a while, we're going to revisit the heart-shaped box. So that will be up next. So if you've got things you want to glue together to get ready to do a heart-shaped box next month, make 13. Yes, the idea is to make 13 and keep one for yourself and bring them in to wherever we're going to distribute when you pick up, and we'll be in good shape, and we'll make a lot of baby doll beds.
Hello, I'm Leon Bashinsky, and I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, no, I'm Bob Decker, and the Vice President of Educational Programming. I think that, I'm not president anymore, is that correct, Mick? Maybe later, all right, I hope not. Well, this workshop for January, it will be posted tomorrow for sign-ups. One of our more popular presenters and workshop leaders, Tim Purell, is going to be here. He's going to do 2 live workshops right here in the 301 hall. The first one is more of a demonstration. He's going to do the dings, divots, and gouges that he didn't make in October. If you recall, he was scheduled in October, and he had some personal health problems, and he wasn't able to make that. So he's doing that in the morning, 9:30 to 12:30. And on the website, it says, I don't know if I said it was limited to 20, but pretty much our limitation will be the social distancing in the hall here, which is about 50 people. And then in the afternoon, 1:30 to 4:30, he's repeating his wonderful shellac workshop from, I believe it was March of 2018 that he did that. Could have been 2019. And that's going to be limited to 10 or 12 people. This is a hands-on demonstration where we all will get to use, Tim will explain techniques, demonstrate them, and then coach us all in doing them ourselves. So it's very educational. I've used several of the techniques that he's taught me in my own work. So a very worthwhile workshop. Again, those will be posted tomorrow. Our February meeting presentation will be embellishing with pyrography. That's wood burning for you, Mick. It's presented by Julie Bender. Julie is a professional pyrographer, I suppose. If you go to her website, you will see some amazing wood burnings. But she's going to teach us about embellishing our ordinary work. You're going to learn about the March tentative wood turning topic from Tom Meeker when he's up. We're planning on putting together a meeting and hopefully a workshop on dust collection, something important to all of us in our workshops. For other workshops, as I said before, we have several ideas planned. At this point, they're all tentative. We're working on getting instructors and sites. As you well know, COVID-19 has and continues to screw up everybody's planning. But on the screen now, you'll see some of the things that we are working on. Shouldn't be anything new there except perhaps sharpening. At the end of the meeting this evening, Jim Crenna is going to demonstrate a sharpening skill, and it's first in a series of skill building segments that we're going to have at the monthly meetings, but we're also going to follow up on workshops or open houses, and the idea being that on a particular Saturday, I'm hoping that we can pull that off in the first weekend in February, but again, that's not decided. The presenter, the workshop leader, will have an open house. And right now, we're envisioning a format where the open house will begin at 9 or 9:30 in the morning on a Saturday. The presenter will devote 15, 30 minutes to lecturing, demonstrating, and then the rest of the morning will be open to you actually sharpening your tools with the leader there to coach you and advise you, and so you'll leave with a bunch of sharp tools. And the reason we call it an open house is because for that segment of it, come and go as you will. So you may have a 9:30 or 10:30 learning period, and then 10 to noon, bring your things in, get them sharpened, and leave with sharp tools and the know-how to do it on your own the next time. Bob, do I have anything else I'm supposed to say? Yes, Furniture Special Interest Group. You may be aware that we have a new leader in our special interest group, Roger Poor, assisted by Tom Ladd, is going to do that. The next meeting for that is Saturday, February the 6th. Again, that's scheduled to be a Zoom meeting. Roger's theme is, let's make something. And he has submitted, I believe he's certainly to the special interest chapter members, he's sent out a suggested sofa table for their next project. So if you're interested in furniture building, if you're interested in learning joinery, if you're interested in camaraderie, make sure you hit the next Furniture Special Interest Group meeting first Saturday in February, first Saturday of every month. And the Scroller Special Interest Group is not yet meeting, either Zoom or in person, due to the COVID restrictions. Although I do know that the leader of that, Gary Lucas, is considering some sort of Zoom meeting in the future. So watch your email for announcements on that. And that's all.
Okay, I'm speaking right now on behalf of Angelo about the finance group. But first, I want to mention that Roger Poor's email address on that last one of those slides a couple minutes ago was missing something. It should be rpoer25@yahoo.com. It was missing the R. And I do want to thank John Kneebone for the fantastic job he did last year. I want to thank Jackie Beck for all the work she did. And she has warehouses on the brain, and so she started using warehouse when she really meant workshop a little while ago. And I want to welcome Mick Keller back. Everybody was so concerned about Mick and Rita, and we really it's really good to have you back, Mick. Okay, so we have 2 contributions that happened in December that we did not recognize. They happened after the December meeting. So the Avon Optimists donated $500, and Paul Grant has been a longtime member of CIWW, and he has had an ongoing relationship with Avon Optimists, and due to Paul's effort, they provided $500 to help our cause. Angelo has been working with PNC Bank. They had an opportunity for us to apply for a grant. Angelo worked diligently in providing rounds and rounds and rounds of information and answering questions and providing data about our club. And the hope was that we would receive a $3,000 grant. Well, when the decision was finally made, the year was getting pretty well on, and PNC was getting low on their grant funds, so they did find $500 for us, and that's pretty exciting. Thanks almost completely to Angelo, and certainly Roger was the guy that was digging up a lot of the information that PNC was asking for. As we go forward, the PNC has shown some significant interest in some of our projects, and there's a very good probability that we'll be seeing another check this year from PNC Bank. So that's another huge boost for our toy program and all the other good things we do. That's all I got for now.
Okay, next slide. It's that time of year to renew your membership. For those who are out there watching tonight, if you have not done so, it's a very easy process. You can simply log in on the website, or if you have the information, you can mail your check to Roger. He'd be glad to make sure that you're active member once again. It's a unique opportunity to access some very amazing workshops, presentations like what you've seen tonight. There's door prizes, of course, every meeting, even virtually. If you're not able to attend, if COVID keeps us shut down, those door prizes will still keep coming thanks to Rockler. And of course, members get discounts at some of the local woodworking retailers like Rockler and Northwest Lumber and others. So your membership is definitely worth the price that you pay, and we encourage you to do what you can to make sure that you're signed up for the coming year. Also, a quick reminder for those who are challenged with the technologies, there is still the tutorial that we've put together for those that would like to figure out how to get online and watch our meetings. If you know somebody that you could print that out and give it to them, that would be a big help. We actually delivered 4 or 5 of those this last month after our announcement last meeting. So do your neighbor a good deed by making sure that every one of our members has access to our online meetings. So, thank you.
Hello, I'm Tom Meeker, the Vice President of Wood Turning. It's been probably about 10 years since I've been on the board, and they've changed a little bit in the past 10 years, but it's fun to get back into it. we got some of the slides, and we'll go through some of the information here. First thing I want to mention is that our meetings for the wood turners are going to be the third Saturday of each month at 10 o'clock in the morning. We're going to be doing Zoom meetings for now. Hopefully, come summertime, we can get back to live meetings. The Zoom link will be sent out by email before the meeting. I think right now we're trying to send it out a week ahead of time and then a day ahead of time. So, and our next meeting in February, which is February 20th, I believe, is going to be Dick Gerard. Dick's was one of the founders of our local wood turning club, and he is also one of the founders of AAW. I think he said his membership's number 13. So Dick should have some very interesting things to show us with regard to texturing and coloring at our next meeting, which will be a Zoom meeting. Next slide. In March, we're looking to bring in this Joanne Savanu. She's out of Canada. I don't know a lot about her, but I think she does a lot with very creative wood turning. It will give you a lot of really unique ideas for your work. So I'm looking forward to seeing what she has to present for the March meeting. Next thing I want to mention, one of the exciting things that we're working on right now, plans aren't finalized, but we've been working behind the scenes to see about purchasing a new lathe for the club. Hopefully at the next board meeting, we'll be able to present a fundraising plan so that we can get a new lathe. I'm really hoping that we can get something in the Powermatic range with 220 power. The Carpenters Union has approved us putting 220 power in, and we've got a good bid on putting that in. So if our fundraising goes well, we hopefully be able to have a new lathe come summertime. More details to follow after we get a chance to talk to the board and figure out the finalized plans for the fundraising. Next slide, I want to remind everybody, one of our members, Betty Scarpino, is going to have a workshop this Saturday at 3 o'clock, and it's through the AAW Masters Series program. $10 for an AAW member and $15 for non-members. If you go to the AAW site, you can sign up for that. I've attended the last couple Masters workshops, and they are very informative, and it'd be well worth attending just to help you understand some different shape and design things. So I would encourage that. Another demo I didn't get a chance to get the slide because I just got the information today is Record Power Tool puts on a free demo every Friday around 7:30. This Theo Harpoon or something like that. I said the name very badly, but he's out of New Zealand, and he gives about a 2-hour demo. I'll try to get an email out to everybody on that. It's pretty simple. You just put RSVP in the subject matter and send an email right back to this Mike Davis. His information will be there, and he'll send you a Zoom link. So I have that. And then I'd also encourage people to consider signing up for the AAW. A lot of really good information out there. So take a look at it and go explore their website and see what all they have to offer. Thanks.
It's show and tell time. And I don't know if I have that there. You know, most people I've observed in my many years with the club bring in their best work for show and tell. I don't have any good work, so I'm just bringing in a mistake. This bow, I'm going to turn it around here in a minute. It's a offcut from a huge ash tree that I took down two and a half years ago. This past summer, Ron Cruz stopped by my shop and saw well, a little bit before that. Those of you who know me know that my favorite woodworking tool is a chainsaw. So, and I was out butchering some logs, making beams and making lumber with my chainsaw. And Ron and I got talking, so we ended up cutting some pretty big size bow blanks for him. I think the biggest we cut was a 22-inch square by 4 or 5-inch thick bow blank. And if, by the way, if you need any of those, I got plenty more, or I can make plenty more. Anyway, this offcut, this 2 weeks ago I started. Well, I hate to throw wood away, so I made a bow out of it. My workshop's not really heated. I have one of those torpedo type heaters in there to bring the temperature up, and with coveralls I can stay pretty comfortable. And I was pretty happy with the way it turned out, so I took it into the house and showed my wife, and she said, "Oh, that's kind of neat. Can you make a bigger one?" Yeah. What I'm trying to show you is, after it sat in the house for 2 days, it was no longer round, but it's oblong. So even though the wood was pretty dry, and dry ash I don't find to be much fun to turn, but I do anyway, by taking it from my unheated workshop and letting it sit in the house for a couple days, it's a completely different object. And I think my 3 minutes are up.
Our next show and tell submission is from Yale Martin. And knowing that we would be doing our presentation on the Shaper Origin, he coordinated with Dick Sumi and Noah to show some of his work with the Shaper Origin. It started when he purchased wood from the Hood sawmill, as you can see, and he ended up turning it into this beautiful island table. And he started the process by flattening each of those slabs, and to do that, he built a 5 by 9 foot table and sled to get that job done. Of course, he also had to straighten each of those slabs. And after that, there were the glue-up decisions about which pieces go with which on edge and whatnot. And then, with the help of Dick Sumi, he actually made a bunch of bow ties, and you can see that Shaper Origin there. And it looks like he had that workspace there too, pretty neat. And again, designed with Dick's help a template to actually create the cutouts on the slabs for the bow ties. The next step, of course, was to use the double-sided tape to attach the template in the proper locations. He says here use a 1/4-inch spiral upcut bit and an 1/8 inch for corners on the smaller bow ties, and made 4 passes to get the final depth of 7/8 of an inch. So those are pretty hefty bow ties holding those pieces together. He actually used 23 zebra wood bow ties on the top of the countertop and another 20 of walnut on the bottom, along with another 20 on the walnut table. So after covering it with 4 coats of Osmo Polyx oil and filled all the voids with the liquid glass super clear, and the bottom of it's dyed black. And it's an amazing looking project, and graces their new newly remodeled kitchen. So, and Yale wanted to give a special shout out to fellow member Tim McCullough for your being there every time to help flip that slab and to help carry it in and out. So, Tim, I know Yale's grateful for it. So.
Okay, now we're going to do our first 10-minute skill building exercise, and I'm going to see if I can get through this in 10 minutes. Thank you. Am I on? Bob? Okay. All right, so drill bits, twist drill bits. Everybody has twist drill bits. Not very many people know how to hand sharpen them. You can always go out and buy a drill doctor, but I just really don't think that's necessary. And a drill doctor is actually kind of a compromise because I think it doesn't do as good a job as you can do by hand. So if we're going to cover a little bit about the basics of what's going on with the drill bit before we get started. So Bob, if you would put up that first slide. Okay, so you've got some things going on a drill bit, and it's the first thing is the angle. So typical drill bit is what you buy in the stores is it's 118 degree included angle, and there's nothing really magic about that except that this is kind of a all-purpose drill bit, and the angles vary, and I don't recommend that you try changing the angles, but the next slide real quickly, you'll see that the harder the material, the more shallow the angle, and the softer the material, the steeper the angle, and the 118 degrees was decided to be a nice compromise, and most people don't do a great deal of drilling of one particular type of material. So the next slide, please. Okay, so a couple things that we have to think about here is that if you'll notice the cutting edge, the straight part up in the upper right corner, that's the part that's going to contact and cut the material. And as the drill bit rotates, the back part of that bit has to disappear out of the way so it's not dragging. So that's the relief angle that we want to maintain as we sharpen the bit. Next slide. Traditional drill bits have a little bit of a problem. The piece in the middle on the 118 degree point there that's the web. And that's the reason why a drill bit just doesn't want to go where you want it to go. You need to get the cutting edges into the material. So back onto my camera on me here. Okay, so I've got a drill bit that I made this morning out of a piece of wood, and you'll see that you can see the two cutting edges in red, but the piece in the middle is the web. And if you think about this, if you apply that to a surface, you're not cutting anything. This flat edge here is just rubbing. So you need to have, if you're drilling a big hole, you want to drill a pilot hole that's bigger than the thickness of the web. If you're drilling if you're drilling you want to drill a small hole that you are going to center punch for, and a center punch is really doing the same thing. It's if you have a really small bit, you're getting the edges of the cutting edges in contact with the material. Now, when it comes to sharpening, what we want to do, we want to make sure that whatever we do to one side, we do the other. If you have a bit that's in really bad shape, you're going to count how many times you make a pass on each side. And if you have a big nick on one side and it takes 5 passes on that side, you're going to make 5 passes on the other side, or you're not going to have a centered drill bit anymore. So I hope this little graphic will show what I want to show. When you, there we go, that's perfect. So as you approach the grinding wheel, you want this cutting edge to be horizontal. And I decided to show this little demo here because you wouldn't hear me if I had the grinder on. So as you approach the wheel, you want your angle to be such that the tip here is contacting the wheel. So you're really up a little bit. And as you contact the wheel, very gentle pressure, you're going to move the drill bit like that. So you're going to maintain the relief angle, and you're going to just take a little bit. Technically, you could just take a little bit there, but if you keep doing that, then you're going to have a problem because you're going to be dragging back here. You got to maintain that relief angle. So if I do that once, flip it over, do it again, I'm done. Let me look at my... Okay, before I actually fire up the grinder, I'm going to just talk just a little bit about grinder safety and dressing the grinding wheel and having a flat surface. There are diamond dressers, but you can get one of these things for 20 bucks. It's a wheel dresser. It is it's kind of a noisy, dirty proposition, but you're going to plant it on the tool rest and slide it from side to side as the wheel is turning. And you can check your surface with a square. Most people tend to use one spot of the grinding wheel, or if you're working on a project where you're really grinding something, you probably end up with a groove in it. So you want that stone to be flat. And the other thing that is I've seen in many, many shops where, not too frequently with woodworkers, because we typically tend to have belt sanders, but I've seen a lot of people put aluminum or copper on a grinding stone. Never anything but ferrous metals. They will load, and once they load, they stop removing material, and when they stop removing material, they get hot, and if you heat the outside edge of that and not the rest of it, you're in for an explosion. Let's not do that. And if you get too much of a load on it, you won't even be able to get it out with one of these. It's time to replace the stone. So we're just going to flip the machine on, go for a little bit of face protection. I like what Wood Turning says on their voicemail from time to time. Even ugly people should wear face protection.
Jim? I don't have a mic, but I'd add this. My finger doesn't straighten because I didn't secure a grinder to the bench. It locked off.
I have a rubber pad underneath it, and I have the...
Repeat what I said, though. Repeat what I just said about the grinder walking off the bench.
Yes, grinders can walk off the bench, and especially if you have a cheap grinder like this that's not terribly well balanced. I have another one at home. I can flip it on, and it'll sit there for a half hour, and it won't move. This thing, just not balanced. And it's still moving. That's it. You want to use a fine wheel? If you do this on a Tormek, this technique, you got to just get around the backside. You got to flip it around so that the wheel. Thank you, Mick. Many of your operations on a Tormek, the wheel is going away from you. That's not going to work so well with this technique. There are lots of other techniques to sharpen a twist drill bit. That's the one I learned back in high school shop class. And 30 seconds, and you got the thing back in the drill press and cutting nice, clean holes. Do it again on the other wheel?
Yeah, the other side. We didn't see it.
Oh, I see, okay. Yeah, I'll do it on, that's the coarse wheel, but I'll do that.
Oh, well, we can move the camera.
Yep. I should have brought a mallet for that. I brought C-clamps, but I didn't really want to fiddle with them. This thing doesn't want to work very well, but that's it. It's a quick 10, 15 seconds. Okay, how did I do on the 10 minutes? Okay, we're going to do door prizes now. If you signed up for door prizes, we need somebody. Okay, you going to draw tickets, Mick? Okay, door prizes are courtesy of Rockler, and we are going to have you. If we call your name, we want you to call in, and Bob, can you get the phone numbers on the screen? Steve Mann, had a nice conversation with Steve Mann the other night. Hope he's ready to get his dust collection. Where are we? Okay, we need to leave that on the. Okay, we have a dust collection starter kit, courtesy of Rockler. Steve Mann, please call in one of those two numbers and let either Jackie or Tim know where you want your prize delivered. If we haven't heard from you in about 2 minutes, we're going to pull another name out of the bucket. Okay. Yale Martin. Okay. Hanging on the door, hanging on the wall. Probably wouldn't work well as an apron, but Yale Martin. I should probably allow a little bit more than 2 minutes because we do have a 40-minute lag, 40-second lag.
Why should we shop at 10% discount?
When you shop at Rockler, remember and ask them for your 10% discount. Remember to remind them to put a mark in the book. Once we get, I believe it's 20 marks, 25 marks in the book. 20 marks in the book, we get a $20 gift card. Those gift cards we periodically give away as door prizes or other prizes for other activities. By the way, I'll take that sidetrack in a minute here. Ed Oberding? Ed Oberding. Call one of the two numbers on the screen. Bob, would you briefly put, okay, so what we have here for this prize is some Paduke, some mahogany, some little bit of everything here. So some knife scales, whatever. All right. So going to just mention something that I forgot. We talked briefly about, I can never get everything completely done the first time when I'm up here. The one thing I wanted to mention when we talked about center punches, I got this thing at Rockler. It's $20, but it's awesome. It's the best center punch, and it's spring loaded. It's a center punch on one end and a nail set on the other end, and it is cool. It is very controllable. You can do a little bit. You can do, I'm making 1/8-inch deep holes in that thing. That's pretty cool. All right, Jim Wallahan. Pocket hole clamp with quick release. Quick release. Jim Wallahan. It's a pocket hole clamp with quick release. Jim Wallahan, please call one of those two numbers. Come on, we need to have, oh, all right. We're not giving any, usually, last month we gave several to the folks in the room. Dick Bonowitz, we got some pretty cool turning blanks here. I recognize this one is Paducah. I don't know what the others are. Oh, that one might be Paducah too. Dick Bonowitz. Okay. Raleigh Murphy. Raleigh Murphy, we have a Rockler cap for you. You can wear this over there on Saturday mornings, and they'll love you even more.
Yeah, probably tomorrow will be best, just because we're still in the throes of it all. Okay, bye-bye.
And the last one, Roger Power. And we have a smattering of exotic wood pieces, some knife scales, and whatever. Roger Power. We have several other giveaway items that will be awarded at the Turning chapter meeting and the furniture chapter meeting. And you can consult the website for the dates and times of those activities. Those are being done virtually, so I think you'll have to come up with some kind of mechanism like what we just did here. So I think that's all I have. Thank you much. Oh, gotta go the other way.
Thank you all. Anything else to come before the Central Indiana Woodworkers this evening? One of the reasons I want to share with you why Bob Decker is so kind to me around multi-syllable words is that my childhood home is Gnawbone, Indiana. Anybody know where Gnawbone, Indiana is? If you went there in the 60s and 70s, you would pass a sorghum mill where there was a jackass. And some days that was me until I left Brown County. On that note, be safe, go make a difference, have a good evening, and we are adjourned.